if you could tell me something about the current situation in Manipur, and whether the after a year of the strife, do you think that we are in any position where the communities are willing to sit across the table and discuss this and come to some kind of an arrangement where the violence is not part of anything that is happening in the state?
Thank you. That's a very good question to begin with. Well, if you talk of this current situation, and the start point, of course, is the 3rd of May last year. From then to now, the violence levels have greatly decreased. But what has not actually decreased is the state of mind of the people. It's got so corrupted, so caustic, and that will take some time to heal. The psychological aspects. Yes, the other things which have gone down, no more additional weapons are being looted, and no more is there a case where villages are being attacked. The last one, of course, happened in Jiribam early July, but nothing after that. So surely the violence levels have gone down. But like I said, there is the second part of your question was as to how do we address this. While the security forces can prevent the levels of violence, but the larger role has to be played by the people, by the government, by the civil society organization, by the youth, and by the various people who are going around with arms. It is for them to meet up and realize that this is not the way forward.
So you spoke about looting of arms just now. That is something which shocked many of us. That why was it so easy for them to walk in and loot the arms? I mean, we've heard of this happening in Naxal areas, but the Naxals are like trained literally like armed forces training. Almost similar kind of training that happens out there. Were these people trained so well as to attack and loot the armory?
I won't say trained to attack and loot. We probably need to put it a little differently. The numbers in which they came, they were very large numbers that they came in. And probably the people who were supposed to be guarding the weapons got overwhelmed by the sheer numbers. But yes, the other way of looking at it is while all these weapons were being looted, were any shots fired at them? No. And that didn't happen.
Why?
Which is something which is of concern to all of us.
So, what is the protocol? They are allowed to fire on people who are looting arms, right?
Of course, that's the standard protocol with any security forces, not necessarily.
I get that, but there are at times I've heard that they're not allowed to retaliate because they are civilians. There are certain protocols that come into place. They are put aside.
In this case, they wanted to be looted.
Yeah.
I will not be able to comment on that whether it was by design. But the fact is that it has happened. But of those weapons, quite a few of them have come back also. So while 5,000 plus weapons went today, there are just about 3,600 as per the official estimate. Some of them have come back. But yes, it continues to be a weaponized society, and that's a major area of concern for us.
And sir, before we move further on this situation, like this has been going on for more than a year now. You were the DG Assam Rifles at the time when all these incidents started. How did they start? Like we know the reservation issue and other issues were the trigger for it. But how did it start? What actually happened on ground when all this started? And what was the response of the security forces?
Yes, you would be aware that when all this happened on the 3rd of May, in the morning, there was these marches that were carried out by the tribes in the hills, and not just the Quickies, even the Nagas did it that day, and that finished by the middle of the day. But thereafter, now it's a question as to where exactly did it start first. That's the moot point. That is what gets asked very often. It was near simultaneous. Some will say that no, it happened first in Churachandpur. Some others will say no, it started in Imphal. But my understanding is it was near simultaneous. And a lot of it was to do with certain wrong videos which went viral.
Information,
which...
when you say wrong, you mean fake, right?
Fake videos, which in no way were related to what was happening in Manipur. But the narrative just went around that these are things that are happening in Manipur. And that's what led the situation to go up the escalatory ladder.
Because you've done several press conferences during that period on propaganda war and on fake video that happened. You did say, I think it was in 2024, you said, and I quote, despite facing wrongful propaganda from individuals and groups with vested interest, we continued tireless efforts in not only curbing violence professionally, but also maintaining Manipur's integrity. So you said individuals and groups. Why were you specifying about, I mean, or separating them? You felt there were individuals with vested interests?
Absolutely. There were people who were doing it at individual level for reasons best known to them, but also there were groups.
You identified them, those who
Yes,
were doing
yes,
that?
they were identified and necessary action were taken against them. Some of them were handed over to the police as well. But what happened beyond that, I'll not be able to comment because we are not aware of that. But yes, what I said, I stand by that.
So, sir, what you is it that when the violence started, there were already groups and individuals who were ready for, who were preparing for this violence to happen in advance with all these videos and their in their arsenal?
Let it put it this way. You just alluded to the fact that there was just a trigger that was needed. This simmering discontentment which was there has been there for quite some time. It has been building up. There were arms with one particular community and they went around with arms, showcased their arms. But thereafter, when it went violent, just remember it was not the arms that were used. It was just setting of fire of houses. Houses were set afire in both the places, in areas belong to both the communities. So that is where it all started. Looting of houses, burning of houses, and the next step to that was looting of weapons. As a counter to a certain faction feeling that they don't have adequate weapons, but then the numbers that got looted were huge.
Click here to watch the full episode.